120. Sounds like a lot.
Yep. And it's in the new year.
Yes, this will be January 6th, 2026. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we're like, what, 3 weeks behind or 4 weeks behind?
Yeah.
3?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think so. We haven't recorded in a while. And of course, by the time this is published, and this is another 3 weeks out. So thought process is like everything is getting really intense.
Yeah.
For me included. And so I wonder, by the time January 6th hits, is it less intense or is it more intense, right? Like, are we come winter equinox and the New Year's threshold? Are we passing into the zone where it's less amplified, or if it's just going to be next level amplified? It's either it's going to decrease and go down, or it's going to go up. There's
right.
So meaning like there's a change coming come winter equinox that is things that are not going to continue as is, but they could go into like more crazy or total calm.
I think everybody will have their own thing. It's just, there'll be plenty of people for where it gets more crazy and plenty of people for where it calms down is the wrong word, but
changes.
It changes.
It would be change.
Everybody will have a change. It's just, I don't know that everybody will have the same change.
No, I mean, everybody will have its own change, but that pressure to change right now is so visceral. This is middle of December. That I mean, if it's already this much pressure to change, I don't know how more pressure is going to be handled. I say this. I had a session, I guess a personal existential crisis on December 5th, which is the supermoon, the last supermoon of the year. It was kind of like one of those like end of the roads for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so this episode stems out of that conversation, I think. And then, and since then we've been evaluating and I've been evaluating and all the things were kind of seen under that lens. But after so much pressure from the universe, so if you see, right, the goal right now for everyone is to see their own nonsense. That's what the pressure is. The pressure is nothing but like you're living in nonsense in some way or form, and it. I mean, chances are, we're two years into the podcast, we know it. But there's got to be some sort of this last push or this like last decision where enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And my January 5th was enough. It was enough. It was just like the Oracle of Delphi. I told you this. Like I couldn't go past that. It's either like there's no road forward, or something has to change.
Yeah.
And so that was the pressure that I felt.
Yeah, and as we're talking, I think one of the things that came up is that we all want to control everything. And we, there was a bit of like, we talked about, how everything's impermanent and, accepting that is difficult at times. But the known, even if it's crappy, what is often still better than I don't know. Mm-hmm. Going into the future, because I don't know is scary. The unknown is scary. Mm-hmm. And I think I called it flaming question marks, because you don't know what's out there. I don't know. It could be anything. But whatever it is probably big and scary, and I don't know if I'll be able to deal with it. It's just because it's unknown and undefined, it takes up so much psychic space in our minds that it is incalculably bigger than and we've all faced unknowns throughout our life. That's kind of what being a human is. And you could look back and go, oh my gosh, I really was afraid about whatever, and then in the end it wasn't a big deal. So yes, in reality, these things are very rarely as big as we blow them up to be. But every single time, every single new one feels like it's the new biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, but with me, obviously the way I was triggered into it was through these little things, seemingly irrelevant things.
Right.
But because all of them were pointing into this really set way of like, and this is really strange, right? Because I literally channeled a book called Word of Change. And this podcast is basically kind of like that, like a reflection of that, just in the human form. So it's really, I said this, I'm judging myself here, how stupid it is. But it was very apparent that, my survival mechanism was perception of control. It's so much so that even knowing that that is not true was not enough for that perception to leave.
That's the thing.
Right. I'm the first person that will go through like quite literally no such thing as control. Like the universe is literally flowing. And the only thing that you can do is pretend like things are set in stone, which they are not.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever, and I thank you for this, but whenever you said flaming question marks was, yes, that's what led me into it. But I think the next thing that you said was, nothing is permanent, right?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as permanent.
Yeah.
And everything, flaming question mark is the fear, but what the fear of is impermanence of everything. And if you don't accept that, and I think that's what it came down to, whenever, I think, obviously I was very young whenever I started thinking that I control things in order to calm myself down. So control was never there for anything other than emotional soothing, right? So I'm like, oh, I know this and I know that, and I will behave this way, even though it's counterintuitive towards greater good of me, much less humanity.
Yeah.
Because it is still more comforting and soothing.
Right.
But I think what it did, it erased or like covered up this idea, the very honest, the most true idea that there is no such thing as permanence.
Right.
And because I like purposely, pulled the curtain over that idea, the idea of control was soothing enough because the idea of impermanence was chaotic.
Right. Well, it's threatening. It's like the very definition of a threat is something is going to change in a bad way.
Yeah, well, threatening in the chaotic type of a sense, unknown type of a sense.
And that makes it worse. It's one thing if there's a known threat.
I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's how I felt.
Right. If there's a known threat, that's better because you can deal with it, plan for it, mitigate it, whatever, if you can. I said like, okay, there's a threat of like, oh, surprise, there's a giant meteor going to wipe out Earth. We have 24 hours. That would suck. I don't want that. But the fear that I feel from that is nothing compared to the fear of, oh, a burglar is going to come into the house and rape and kill everybody. Because there's something I can do about that. I can lock the door or, I don't know, stand vigilant with a gun. I don't know, whatever. That is a preventable thing in my mind. Is it really? Maybe, maybe not. That's irrelevant. But it feels like that is under the category of things that I do have control over. Whereas meteor coming from space, what could I possibly do? Well, I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist. I don't have nuclear weapons to launch at it or whatever. I literally cannot do anything about that. The cards will fall how they fall. The rocks will fall how they fall.
But like, because there is this required surrender.
Right. There is a resignation in that. Well, this is not what I want. I don't want that at all. But there's nothing I can do to change it.
But you're not tense about it.
I'm not tense about it. And so, and maybe there's a little bit of a continuum there. There are things that you have more and less control over, right? leaving candles lit when you leave the house. I have control over that, and so so that would be something that I would be afraid of because that could burn the house down. And getting struck by lightning is well, in a sense, you have control over that. Don't go out in thunderstorms.
Yeah, but
a war coming. I have no control over if China attacks the United States. What can I do? Nothing. I can't do anything. So it's not even on my radar as something to conceive as a possibility because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
What happens to that? I don't know. I'll deal with it then. But it makes no sense to plan for that or a meteor coming down.
Yeah, but I think what happened, at least with me, is as a child, right? You had all of these flaming question marks, and then in my case, and probably your case, you can weigh in on this. It was erratic.
It was erratic, yeah.
So when you grow up into an erratic household where it just feels unsafe and you don't know if today's going to be a flip out day or not flip out day. And I say this like most of the people of alcoholics say this. I was not in the family of alcoholics, but there was enough, the childhood deposited enough of these flaming question marks to be so extreme, erratic, that the perception of control needed to be built in order to provide some kind of sense of relief.
Right. Because
otherwise, we would short circuit as children. So because of that, if I were a child sitting there at age, 5, let's say, or 6, and I went, hey, is universe completely impermanent and therefore nothing is controllable and you are at the mercy of everything? With a 5-year-old brain, if I were to say that to a child, I think the child would have probably flipped out so much,
right,
to the idea that there's no such thing as permanence in life. Because, or how about this? Or maybe the child wouldn't have flipped out because the child was still closer to this general idea of internalized truth about, say, like, I think there was this, and it's interesting because I think this is what happened. As children, we feel ourselves being cradled by the universe, right? Like quite literally.
Universe has your back.
Yeah, but you feel cradled. Like I think I remember being cradled by the universe. I say this as an adult, but I'm like, no, it's not like a new realization right now because I feel it now. But back then, no, I felt it as a child. So it's like a memory. What I'm feeling is a memory of it and not like an invented new reality. Do you know what I mean? So as a child, to a certain age, you were cradled by the universe. And, you can define universe to be whatever you want. But as enough of these unknown question marks seeped into your psyche, right? And let's say a lot of scientists say, give me a child before age of 7 and I can tell you how he's going to be an adult.
Mm-hmm.
If you, let's say we go with that, let's say at the age of 7, and I'm not sure exactly at age of 7, I think there were some things in my life that propagated past 7 that kind of, lock things in more. But you forgot the idea that you were cradled by the universe. And then you were out there on your own or somewhat on your own, and then had to make your own scenario up, like your own comprehension of the universe. And in my case, I don't know, blame it on Taipei or blame it on erratic, mom and dad fighting.
They said blame it on Taipei, the city.
Okay, so
you don't know if it's because you're Taipei?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, right, social contracts say Taipei, but Taipei is just a particular flavor of trauma.
Sure.
And mitigation of that trauma through control.
A response to that.
A response to a specific type of trauma. So all of the types that are out there, is this Myers-Briggs thing or not? What is the
That's
type?
Not, but that's, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, all of those classifications out there, this is a side note, are simply reflections of the type of trauma you had
Right.
And then the way you went about blocking it off or being able to live with it through your adulthood.
Right.
So, type A for me is just like, oh, I think I have control over things because otherwise I'm sitting there crying.
Yeah. I wonder if, because the whole...
You're not going to deviate onto the types, are you?
No.
Okay.
The whole idea that everything is impermanent is a very Buddhist type of thought. And I wonder if children brought, like, you see there's like little Buddhist monk children, right? So cute. Well, they're bigger than that, but they're probably like that tall on the ground. I wonder if they...
Hi, Geetie.
If
stay with
they
us?
have that same existential angst about the unknown, about control, that
If they were taught that from the beginning.
right. Is that learned behavior? Do we as children learn, directly or indirectly, that fear of the unknown, fear of lack of control, I've got to maintain control, or what? I don't know, but it's worse than death.
It is worse.
Do we
than death.
learn that and then struggle with that through our lives, and then maybe come mid-40s we're like, maybe there's another way? Or is that baked into us, and everybody's gotta come out of it somehow?
I don't know if it's baked in. Like,
is it a Western construct? Because the idea of controlling something is a positive thing in Western culture. Who are the successful people? They have the most control. Control and success almost go hand in hand. Success, giant question, quotation marks around, sarcastic question marks around that. How do you get more money? By controlling more stuff, in every sense of that word.
Yeah,
controlling
no, but
the outcomes, controlling
deep
the
down,
company.
right? Like when somebody goes through the phase of awakening where you recognize the nature of the universe and nature of your own shadow or pain body, and then you kind of release it all. Usually the goal is not to accumulate more wealth or do more things.
True.
Right? Do you see that falls away, because chances are any tension on my end that has been there has only been there under the pretenses of control in order to mitigate unsafety.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting because, I'm judging back. Like, I don't think my mom and dad were as bad as I was with this control thing. Like, I think, well, one, my dad, was Hindu for a little bit. And then after that, I just became like openly spiritual, but maybe more undefined. And, and Hinduism teaches an attachment, I guess, in a very interesting way, just because the culture is so much drowning in the attachment. But they have this general, not like Buddhists are, to the extreme extent of like, oh, impermanence, nothing at all.
Yeah.
But, Hindus teach that or emphasize that. But like I don't think they were as messed up as I was in their idea of control. Like, they would do things and maybe I didn't see the stress points, but my grandma was. I know my grandma was.
Yeah.
And she raised me.
Yeah.
So obviously different people from Ukraine have different versions of this interpretation.
Right. And I think a lot of that is, the experience your grandmother had growing up
in World War II.
In World War II.
Yeah.
Is, wildly different than your experience growing up. But, she kind of, by proximity, by, just the fact that she experienced that affects everyone that she interacted with, and probably affected you since you spent a lot of time with her. You learned all that from her.
Well, I mean, whenever you're sitting with the grandma and they're reminiscing on stories, and all the stories that she's reminiscing is World War II stories.
Yeah. So
as a young child, you get a bleak picture.
You don't walk away with the best impression of Nazis after this.
There we go again.
Godwin's law.
No, you're right. Yeah, but right, my circumstances of upbringing, that was like the worst case scenario. So I had this idea of the worst case, and I had this idea of, I don't know. There's never best case, right? There's never the other end.
Even now, we on occasion there'll be some really loud, choppy helicopter fly over, and my reaction is, "Ooh, cool! What is it?" And your reaction is like, I don't know, because you said like in the past, back in Ukraine, every now and then there's some sort of squadron of attack helicopters flying over, and it's just like, that's not good. Where are they going? I don't know, but it's not good.
One, it's interesting because, right, during World War II, the type of planes they had were the bombers or like the Cessna style, whatever those were,
propeller planes.
And then, the shooting that would happen out of them in all the Soviet war movies that I heard, the sound was the right.
Yeah.
So I know I heard it in the films, but like I know I viscerally experienced it, like laying down in the bunker somewhere, and the plane coming through going, and you can hear that whoosh. I mean, one, there's a whoosh, which is, you can't experience that from a movie. Like you would, right? Like if I sit back and go, okay, would there be a whoosh?
Yeah.
And the huge thing of wind as a plane flies lower enough, to hit you with bullets. And I would say yes, but I remember the whoosh. And I remember the sound and it getting, and that, the echo of it being further, getting closer, the buildup of the nervous system, right? And are those bullets going to hit? How low do I need to lay down in this bunker in order not to be hit? And then two, it going further away. But like the echoing of the bullet of the is just embedded in my system. So one, I think, of course, I am so good at tuning into collective consciousness that half of the time I think, okay, it might, but in the long run, it doesn't even matter. If this is a past life or this is still an inset in collective consciousness, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, like the trauma at all points, right, is set. The nervous system this is what we talked about. The nervous system experienced the shock and registered the shock without actually linking the outcome to the shock. Right? So if something happens and you were in shock of like, holy shit, this is a shock to me, like a shock to my system. And even if the scenario turns out okay, the nervous system is stuck in the shock without actually cognitive going, oh, look, yes, there was a shock, but this scenario turned out to be okay.
Right.
And then therefore their nervous system can be calm in retrospect. Like you can
no, that never happens. All
never
we do,
happens.
we only collect the shocks.
Yes.
And no matter how good or even bad, but no matter how good, maybe if it turns out bad, you get the validation, the feedback that, oh, see, my shock was justified because everything's gone terrible. But yeah, if you,
there's all these peaks. It's basically like life, peak, life, peak, and more. And the flaming question marks is the shock of the nervous system where that peak happens.
Oh my gosh, things have just gone, horribly wrong. How bad is this going to be? I don't know, but it's going to probably be really bad.
Yeah, because you're only evaluating it.
And then, okay, I didn't, I've regained control of the car and I'm no longer spinning out and everything's fine. That doesn't matter. Your psyche, what was deposited in your psyche is, oh my gosh, at the very least, this area of road is horribly, horribly dangerous, even if everything worked out. I can still remember the various areas of road where I have almost had accidents before and and almost got pulled over by cops and almost whatever. And there is a visceral reaction to it, even though nothing actually happened. And, okay, maybe I swerved a little bit, or okay, maybe a cop looked at me driving by. But I know them, and I'm not even conscious of it. But if I drive by, I'm like, oh, there's that spot again. I gotta drive really slow because one time there was a police there.
Yeah.
Because one time I kind of, my tires spun a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But those peaks is, that is the selection of the neurosystem or like the psyche or the emotional body that we remember and live through if we don't address our shadow, right? I think the last podcast that we just published was like bypassing, right? No amount of positivity and love and light and, changing any mantra is going to get that released. I'm not saying you should be drowning in it, right? There's a difference between drowning in it and just basically reminiscing in it and going out of proportion.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying, is acknowledging that it is there, that it is a system in shock.
Right.
And choosing to heal the system in shock, right? And in my case, it just, in December 5th, it reached such a peak that even though my psyche didn't want to start, like I knew that it was a pattern that I was repeating over and over and over, even though my cognitive psyche, like higher self psyche, didn't want to repeat that pattern. And the disconnect was enough inertia for me to go, enough is enough, right? And then, whatever you said with a flaming question mark and impermanence of life made me realize my control system, because I'm trying to avoid facing these peaks, is trying to override the idea that these peaks are even there, because I want to make universe solid.
Yeah. I mean,
solid / known / observable, therefore knowable. And so that was the trick of the system, that how I allowed myself to think that there is such thing as control. Right. And after, like you said, okay, just you're triggered by the flaming question marks. And I was like, yes. And then like, yeah, but there's no such thing as permanent. Like the whole point of life is that it's impermanent. And I'm like, oh, I chose not to know that. I was choosing not to know that because that was so threatening. Because if you know that and you believe that and you allow that belief system to flow, then you really do seem like an idiot to your own self trying to think that there's such thing as control.
Right. I mean, you still try. I still try to control stuff. I had heard that a long time ago, but only recently have I really accepted that.
Well, it's ultimate surrender, right?
It is, because it's like, in the end, we can do what we do to try to control situations. Sure, I close the windows if it's raining out. Yeah, I want to, protect the floor. But eventually the floor will, I guess, rot away or whatever, right? Eventually. So it's just, the control is how long can I stay off the eventual, degradation, decay, falling apart, losing it, death. What can I do to kick that a little bit further down the road?
But you're kicking it because you're fearing it.
Right. Because that's not what I want.
It's not safe.
Yeah, there's what I want, and here's a whole bunch of stuff that's not what I want, so I need to fight against that in order to keep what I want. Whether that's the thing I want, or whether that's the circumstance I want, or, I want to stay healthy, I want to stay alive, I want to, keep the car in good shape, whatever it is.
But yeah,
I just want to.
Yeah, but
I want to control it to protect it, because otherwise,
the fear of the
otherwise, I don't even know.
It's the fear, right?
In reality, otherwise, there's a scratch on the car, and what? Is that a big deal? Not really, but before that, it feels like this impossibly big deal, out of proportion with what it is.
Yeah, I think when this is going back to attachment.
Yeah, it's very, very closely related.
Yeah, because the attachment is only there to mitigate really, kind of pathetically, the flow of the universe. If the universe is flowing and things are happening out of expression of wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
at some point, because we experience lesser than, we're afraid to surrender because we think that there's no such thing as wholeness. And I think deep down, that's what it is.
Right.
Right.
I think literally everything we do is some sort of exercise in control. We eat so that we control staying alive. We breathe so that we control staying alive. Maybe breathing's subconscious, maybe depending on where you want to put that on that continuum. We buy insurance for the house and for the car and for life insurance so that, life insurance. Such a great title for that product. So that, we can, we can mitigate it. Maybe we can't control, the tornado, but we can mitigate it. So that's, half a step away from control. It's still control. It's just, a less direct control. We're controlling the mitigation.
Yeah.
But that's what we do, right? When we watched Johnny Harris's video about how the extremely rich live and the interesting tricks that they use to preserve their wealth, it's apparent that nobody wants to exert control like the super rich exert control over keeping the money. And all the interesting, schemes that they can come up with their armies of lawyers and accountants and whatnot to, preserve the wealth and in some cases what the wealth like if someone has their wealth is basically all in the stock of their company, but having the stock in their company gives them control over their company. If you have 51% of Acme, then you get to say what Acme Inc. does, right? All the other shareholders vote against you. Too bad. You've got 51%. What I say goes. So preservation of control. And wealth is just, a slightly more dotted line to preservation of control.
If you're playing that game, that's it.
Yeah. I guess where I was going with that is even the people who have all the wealth in the world still play that game. They're still afraid of losing the wealth, of losing the control, of losing whatever. And, he goes on to say, and they build bunkers because what if the war happens? Now you're at a level where you can mitigate against war. I can't mitigate against war. But if you have a secret underground bunker in the hills of, Minnesota, Colorado, sure, Colorado is where to put it. Maybe you can mitigate against, a Chinese invasion or maybe even a meteor strike. So at that scale, maybe you can. So now there's more things in the I can control it bucket. And so you do. Everything becomes a threat because you have nowhere to go but down. You can only, the taller you are, the harder you fall.
Yeah, but the premise of the game is the same. Mm.
There's this the poor, impoverished, homeless people, they're not afraid about getting sued. What are you going to do? Take my what? But the middle class and the upper middle class and the upper class, at some point it doesn't matter, and you just lawyers deal with that. But there's a range of people who are where being sued is a concern. So just more control.
Yeah, but I guess C of control, right? But it's because deep down it makes us feel safe.
Right. If we believe me, control makes me feel safe. I know that viscerally.
Yeah, but what I want to say is, no, right? If we're playing the game of unsafety, which everybody is. And then we all use certain behaviors, which we all do, of control, like to the point where, like, even if you don't think that, you're like a type A or a control freak, even the whatever the scale is, even if you're kind of like you think you're a passive person, any behavior at all is a behavior into control. In fact, on the side note, if you're the type of person who's very like soft-spoken and doesn't stand up for yourself, that is a choice into a behavior, because that gives you control,
right?
Because you're not poking the threat,
right? No, that was me. That was me. I didn't want to.
So it doesn't matter how
it's control. It may not look like control, but it is very much control. You're trying to control the scenario and the outcome. Instead of controlling it with, aggression and force, you're trying to control it with, appeasement or whatever. But you're still trying to control it.
Yeah.
One may or may not be more or less effective from a practical standpoint. That's beside the point. You're trying to control every second of your life.
Yeah. But whatever the tactic is irrelevant. If you like stop and pause and go, oh, wow, I'm just threatened. The entire system is threatened. And the only way I can feel not threatened is if I think I am controlling something.
Yeah.
But then deep down, it comes down to fear, right? If you recognize that this is just overwhelming fear, overwhelming unsafety and threat, and then you can go, okay, then what's on the other end of it? And the other end of it is the idea that if I am not controlling it, the truth is everything is impermanent. And then deep down, maybe that's the ultimate fight, is the fight to fight the impermanence.
I mean, I think that is the ultimate fight.
Right? It's not the money, it's not the war, it's not the bunkers, it's not food, it's not love. It is impermanence. By love, I mean, whatever that love is, not the universal love.
There's a chance that something will go not how I want it to go.
But you have an attachment to it staying that way.
I want something to be a certain way, and there's a chance or certainty or an inevitability that will not be that way. How can I stop that from happening? Or at least delay it?
Yeah. Yeah. And, like you're still reading the Tantra book, but like, that's what the Tantra teaches, is this idea of that. I don't know if Tantra uses the word attachment. I think like in Osho's book, he references the Buddhism talking about attachment, but he talks about any preference at all towards any outcome is attachment, which is, basically kind of the answer. Like, which is, if you're in it and if you're in the idea of control and mitigation and whatever, you mean like you would go like, what the heck? What do you mean any preference at all?
Yeah.
But that is what it comes down to. Any preference at all.
Right. When you're in it, that sounds too extreme to even swallow. Like, yeah. Right.
Yeah. So then, the leeway, or like the path that then my psyche followed, is once I went, oh my gosh, look, I'm trying to have the universe be the certain way. And then part of me went, okay, that is completely stupid. Right? Because
the universe does what the universe does.
Yeah. But like the fact that I even thought that, like deep down, like, you kind of figure out your belief system, your idiotic belief, and you were like, oh no, that's totally what I was doing. I was trying to get the universe to behave a certain way. I was trying to control the universe.
I mean, at some level, it almost feels like we came here with that job description. You want to be human? Okay. You gotta breathe, you gotta eat, you gotta try to control the universe. Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
You're hired as a human.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, no, it does. But once you see that, you were like, wow, I mean, wow, the amount of that was necessary in order for me to sit here, at this age, in this time, in this space, in this vibratory field, to go, oh, that was like not a feasible accomplishment by any means. But yet that is what the goal, like hidden goal of the psyche. The nervous system's goal was to, okay, let's try to control the universe in any way possible, every way possible, any way we can, like almost like psychotically, shakingly, like, how you imagine, the guy on the Instagram that was like really good at playing the heroin addict, where like he bends his hand some weird way and he does it's like that. Like you're a heroin addict and you're addicted to anything and everything at all in order to perceive the fact that you are somehow in charge of anything.
Yeah. And I think it goes into controlling things that don't even matter to you too.
No, it's everything.
It just expands out.
It's like
it's all consuming.
Yeah, but like you're trying to collapse the universe, literally, like taking the universe, and if you just sit back and go into like even a slight of a meditative state, and you try to feel the universe, which you're feeling like 1,000th quadrant of it when you do that. You're trying to take the whole universe and collapse it into a controllable situation, which is like the idiocy of that statement now in retrospect is like, oh, wow. But that is totally what my mission was somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, the amount of surrender that I'm refusing to have, because surrender quite literally means allowing the universe to be what it is and just flowing in the flow, was unthinkably threatening. And I think because I perceived myself to be alone against the world. If I had to like extrapolate now, like why? I thought I was alone against the world.
I mean, I think I felt I was alone against the world. I think maybe to some degree everybody does. That, there is this perception of a very real boundary of my skin is the boundary and everything inside is me and everything outside of me is the universe. And I don't know what's out there, but it's definitely trying to get me. There's bears out there and there's people out there and there's men in the woods out there. And, there's meteors coming down and, countries trying to invade and, burglars trying to, everything's, and cars are going to get scratched. All that stuff is out there. And it's me versus the world. And I've got to do everything I can to try to keep it right. Right being how I want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
And, how I want it to be and how you want it to be aren't the same. Now we've got a problem. And who can make it their way quicker or more permanent, or how can I stop you from making it your way so that my way will win? Let's have a war about it. There literally would be no wars if people weren't trying to control stuff. Wars is like one of the more extreme versions of control. I want this land, I want this resource, I want to get rid of those people, whatever, because that's the way I want the universe to be. Let's roll some tanks in.
Yeah, I think right through this overwhelming fear and unsafety, we are fighting the universe within ourselves.
Right. But guess what? The universe is going to win because the universe is eternal and this sack of meat is not. And while I believe that the soul is eternal, that's little consolation to this sack of meat, which definitely feels like a lot of things can go wrong with it. Whether that's meteors or, I stubbed my toe. All those things feel like these beyond existential level threats. They feel so out. That's what gets me is how much bigger than life they all feel in the visceral moment of terror of, I don't know. It is, that's why I called it a flaming question mark, because it feels like, it's one, okay, I'm going to go in for, I don't know, an interview or something, right? How's it going to go? I don't know. And it could be, how's it going to go? I don't know. I'm going to try my best. Maybe they'll like me. Maybe I'll like them. If that's the case, then that's great. If either of us don't like the other, then okay, we'll move on. And it can just be that. It can just be an interview. It can just be two people talking. But instead, it might get blown up into this. I don't know. What if I don't get hired? And even if I don't like it, I really need the job. And I'm never going to find another job. And it just expands and expands and expands. And instead of meteors coming down, it's question marks that are on fire, being shot at you. Is it that big of a deal? Probably not. Is any of the stuff that we're terrified that big of a deal? Probably not. But it sure feels like it in the moment. And it's difficult for us to gain in the first place, or maintain, if we do get it, the perspective of none of this really matters. If you can step up even just a little bit, none, or depending on where you are, very little of this really matters, right? Especially all the. I mean, it's really easy to go, well, this stuff doesn't matter.
Well, no, it's not even that. I think more correct approach would be, it's not that it doesn't matter. I feel existentially threatened, and I'm trying to fight the universe.
Because it matters.
Well, because I'm threatened.
Yeah. I think I'm saying the same thing in a different way. It matters because it's threatening. If it wasn't threatening, it wouldn't matter.
Right. But if you pause and you go, I'm trying to find the universe because it matters, because it is threatening, because my inner psyche is basically
flipping out.
The nervous system is overloaded. If you go all the way down into like the core of this origin,
mm-hmm.
you can surrender at that level and go, oh, look, I'm threatened, and this is threatening. I'm not trusting the universe, and I'm trying to tense up in order to try to control this threat, perceived threat.
Right.
But, in fact, in actuality, I'm actually drawing more threats into it, because this is the vibratory field in which I'm currently choosing to vibrate.
No, I got an email the other day, and I'm like my initial reaction was just this tense up, borderline shakiness. Oh God, I really just don't want to deal with it. And there was nothing really to deal with in this. It was just a simple response. But I'm just like, and I'm like, wait, look at this. Look at this completely out of proportion reaction to what in reality is nothing. There's nothing there. And I'm like, well, okay, I perceive this person in such and such way, and that's threatening in such and such way. And, I felt it. I really felt it. And, there's a lot of ways to approach it. And I kind of try to approach it from all of them. But feeling it does a lot to shine the light on it. Feeling what it really is. It's saying, oh, I feel threatened. And the outcome of this is unknown. And that is also threatening. And this person is threatening. I feel all these things. Feeling that, just letting that flow out. I'm saying out on purpose because it really dissipates it. And then putting even the smallest amount of thought into that. Am I actually in physical danger here? No. I'm looking at a piece of, fancy glass that has words on it called a phone. No danger. What is there? It's just, I just reply back. And, that's from the logical standpoint. That helps. That helps too. I end up doing both, but I try to start with the feeling, because I know if the logical makes it go away, I won't be able to feel it. But if I feel it first, I can always do the logical one later.
I almost feel like the logical part is there in my case, to sabotage me from feeling it.
That's why I won't do the logical one first, because I know I can logic myself out of feeling bad. But the danger there is that I've just suppressed it. I've just tucked it down away.
Logically, I've been doing that.
In a bigger pressure, and just adding to this pressure cooker, and eventually it'll pop. But instead, if I purposely don't logic it out, I don't, solve it in my mind. Because I can solve it in my mind.
But that's your control.
That's my control. So
your control is not actually doing things; it's to running through scenarios, all the scenarios about outcomes.
So in
order to mitigate.
I
unknowns.
deliberately don't, and I kind of force myself to feel it. And I learn a lot about myself through that. I'm like,
when after it happened, and then I want to say, I think we recorded the bifurcation email podcast before this happened. Pretty sure, right? Yeah, I think it happened. So my scenario was on the.
I didn't write bifurcation.
It was choice.
Oh, choice. Okay, that was 12/3.
Okay, so 2 days before we recorded the bifurcation, right, and the bifurcation basically kind of pipes into that. If this comes up, right, what came up to me on the 5th was just like, oh my gosh, this is it for me, right? Like, this is the end of the road, and I'm at a fork, right? And if I continue down the road that I have been going, or try to cram in this road, I know the net outcome is me falling down. Do you know what I mean? It's the end of the road where I could continue to carry the frequency of pretend control and trying to control the universe. If I was able to continue to carry, and I think this is what's happening universally, if you're able to carry this frequency and whatever the sales pitch that you have designed for yourself in the past that allowed you to carry this, which in my case was like, there's such thing as control, and there's such thing as mitigating the universe, and the universe is out to get me, or there's no such thing as safety, right? That's what it comes down to. That was the story I was living. And the way the universe is working out right now is we are no longer able to continue to carry that story. Something has to change. The story has to reformulate itself. And that's what the bifurcation is. And in this case, the bifurcation is you have to reformulate yourself in order to add on more nonsense to make this more solid, and you choose that path. And it really becomes dense. The density of that path would have been, I don't think I would have been able to survive that path. Or you have to unravel that story.
Yeah.
And that's the splits. And we're coming to all kinds of forks in the road, not in the universe as a cumulative consciousness, but individualized interpretation of consciousness. We are basically built up so much to where we're at the end of the road for each one of these nonsensical stories, falsehoods within ourselves. And we are choosing, do we densify it more in order to keep it? Because you have to densify to keep it, right? If the entire frequency of our existence is rising, in order for you to keep an existing belief, it has to become more and more. Do you know what I mean? It has to be densified more, or you have to release it.
That densification, I think, looks often looks like that, like these unknowns expanding into anything and everything that could possibly go wrong.
You're growing that. You're growing the fear.
Well,
You're growing
we take
the question marks.
Concise problem, we're going to call that issue, scenario in the world that whatever it is, it's its own little contained thing, right? And we just make it so big, so
blow it up.
ridiculously big.
Yeah.
and yes, densify it. And we add this psychic energy into the situation, not in a good way. It's so counterproductive on every possible level. And we don't even, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. Now I can look back. Now I can still catch it and go, look what I'm doing. I'm just dumping all my fears and traumas into whatever the flavor is today in email or the scratch on the car, whatever it is. And it's so big. It's so ridiculously big, and it makes no sense at all if you put any thought into it. But it feels, right? It feels bigger than death.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sweet death would free me from this, right? If I could just die, then I wouldn't have to deal with the email or the car and it's like it makes no sense.
To the nervous system.
To the nervous system, it's the single most important thing in the world. There's nothing more important than this, and all of your focus and all of your attention is consumed by it. Mm-hmm. It's so bizarre if you think about it. It's like, because that's not.
Yeah, but when you're in it,
and you're densifying
it more,
it's so real. It's so real, and it's the only thing that matters.
Yeah. And
afterward, you're like, oh well, that wasn't that bad. That was, even if it was that bad, at least it's in the past and it's known, right? Even if it was, something tragic and it is objectively bad, at least it's over and all the question marks are no longer on fire. There are no more question marks. It's known. Therefore, there's some control around the past because it's done.
Yeah, but if you don't classify it under that category of this is a nervous system overacting,
right, then it's real.
Yeah, that one. But if you don't classify it as it happens, and you get a break for a week or a couple of days, the next one will still be coming.
That's the thing. You have to recognize this feeling I get. This, for me, it's like some sort of jittery shakiness, and my heart starts beating faster, and my mind just starts exploring all the ways that this can go wrong. It's not all the ways this could go right, which is in itself very telling.
I started reminiscing on all the things that happened that made this happen.
Like all the bad choices in life that led to this moment?
Or that, or like everything I could have done in the past, which is completely pointless. Everything that I could have done in the past that would have made this situation better.
Right.
So I'm like trying to
I've done
solve it in reverse.
But in reality, the only thing that can make it better is build a time machine and go back and do something different. It's too late.
Well, no. In reality, the only thing that can make it better is you recognizing that you are living out of an unfinished loop within your nervous system, out of fear and unsafety, and you're through some form of control trying to not let the universe guide its course.
Right.
That is the, I say that it is not easy. I'm not accomplishing this myself as well as I wish I did, but that is the solution.
Right. We all want this. We all have this idea of what a perfect life is, and that may change over time, but it probably doesn't have illness and disease and injuries and misfortunes in it. Nobody wants that upon themselves or their loved ones, or ideally anybody else. So there's that. But there's this, I've heard we've watched a lot of things, and I've heard a lot of things from people who have, to varying degrees of success, probably more successful than me, surrendered to the universe. That doesn't mean give up. I think there's a misconception that surrendering to the universe means giving up. It isn't that. It's, it's subtle, but it's,
do you think it includes trust?
Yes, it's a trust thing. You need to trust that the universe has your back. And that doesn't mean you won't stub your toe. And that doesn't mean that bad things won't happen. They might. But to trust that in the end, the sum of all these things that happen is in a positive direction for a reason, right? Maybe the reason is you were here to have an unpleasant experience. I don't know. That doesn't sound great, but if that is the reason, that is the reason, and that's kind of what's going to happen whether you're fighting the universe or not. If there is a destiny and a fate, what, you think you're going to outmaneuver it? No. So be open and receptive to the universe, which is the opposite of trying to control it. The universe may present things to you, and you can, take that offering or reject that offering, I suppose. But I would say, in general, if the universe is presenting things to you, it is for you to accept it. Where I was going with that is the people who have surrendered and accepted and trusted the universe tend to have things work out in ways that they get to enjoy.
This is not a sales pitch.
It's not a sales pitch, but this is the side effect of it.
The side effect, yeah. I want to make sure that's.
It's not part of trust the universe so that you get to win the lottery.
No.
If you're doing it for the sole purpose of trying to win the lottery, I'm going to trust the universe,
so I can control it.
Then that's control, masked away. It's not that.
That is the case.
But at the very least, they're peaceful. They're much more peaceful than, they're more peaceful than the billionaires who are worried that they're going to lose their billions of dollars, despite probably not having vast fortunes themselves. The fortune becomes, it's just like, okay, what's the number in the bank account? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's not, the most important thing in the world. This number has to go up. God forbid it goes down.
The fortune is just attachment.
Yeah.
And to some extent, this is an extrapolation. I don't think it works this way, but the more fortune you have, the more attachments you have. The more time you spend, so basically having more fortune, meaning the amount of time and energy you spend in controlling, it usually equates to the amount of fortune you have.
Building it.
Yeah. So therefore, the amount of blindness you have against this idea of control versus surrender is longer into blindness. That's right. So
you're more invested in it.
Well, you're more blind to
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So to release it is not to walk back, 50 years, if you have already walked 50 years forward, is to recognize the inception point at which you originated the chase.
I think when Jesus said that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into heaven, I think that's where he was going with it. Mm-hmm. Was it isn't the wealth number itself. It's what it does to you to accumulate it and preserve it and need it and be attached to it and
how it generates,
and how much fear it generates and how it defines you. Mm-hmm. Because a rich person is a rich person and a poor person is just a person that may happen to be poor, but that's not maybe for some people it is, but that's not this crafted, deliberate identity.
Yeah, but you're trying to preserve it. You're attached, trying to preserve it because it means something to have it be there. And if it means something to have it be there, then you're exercising control in order to keep it so.
Right.
And if you're exercising control, that is the amount of unprocessed trauma and blindness you carry in that current situation.
Right. And it doesn't matter if you're keeping it to hoard it, or you're keeping it to break some record, or you're keeping it to give to your children, or you're keeping it to you're going to give it all the way to charity. That doesn't matter. I mean, maybe some of those are better or worse than others, but it doesn't matter. As far as this goes, it's this attachment to it, this need to control it and preserve it.
Yeah.
And that's not saying you know, it's subtle. It's like you can be very rich in a way that is not an identity defining, controlling, attached type of way. Or you can be in the way that everybody else is.
Well, but I want to say that, you know, the rich is like just a game. Like money is just a game, right? Like having a steady relationship of somebody who loves you is another game, right? Like, or having food in the pantry and making sure that I can afford my car payment is just a game. Like all of them are just extrapolations of how you control the universe or how you play with the universe, and then how much control are you assigning to whatever game you're in. So money is just a gameplay, right? But then like if I'm loved or not loved is another gameplay, right? Or if I'm unwanted and discarded, you know, it's just like another gameplay. Do you know what I mean? So all of those hit back at the exact same idea of, okay, that this pain body and the trauma this is what I feel. And then what do you do with it in order to perceive control of the situation so you don't feel that?
I think money is an interesting game because there's a very easy way to keep score. The dollar amount. And you can see who's winning on that. It's me versus you. I've got 1 million, you've got 2 million. Oh no, I'm losing the game to you. The other things, love, whatever, are not as easy to compare. And so it's difficult to compete. And I think there's this desire to compete in order to win, in order to feel better about yourself. And so money is an easy game to play, easy game to lose yourself in, because there's a score. Here it is. It's on my bank statement. There's my score.
Yeah, but I think probably like 90% of people don't play the money game. Most of them are playing actually 100% of people are playing I'm unsafe and I'm frightened game.
True.
And then from that, you take on the flavor of how. And, you know, the money game is...
Ooh, if I make this number bigger, I feel less unsafe.
Yeah, that is a social construct that justifies for you to get distracted about the fact that you feel unsafe.
That's where I was going. It is a distraction. It is a distraction because 1.1, 1.2 million, it matters so much, is just a way to pretend that you don't feel it. I'm not going to feel it. I'm going to go work harder to make 1.3 so that I'm better than that guy.
Yeah, but the second you veer off of the road of money game, the unsafety and fear is still there, and you're just going to find a different form of it interpretation.
Yeah.
You'll be like, oh, you know, my wife abandoned me, and my children disowned me, and now I'm alone. Well, it's the same game. Right? Or like, oh, look, now I have a disease and all of my time is spent going to doctors and making sure I survive. It's still just a game. Do you see what I mean? This was one of the things that I pointed out that came to me is there are an unlimited number of these games.
Right.
Money is the one that a lot of people talk about, but it doesn't matter if you're playing the money game or if you're playing the not loved game or you're playing the sick game. The whole point of Earth is to experience an immense amount of extrapolations of experiences,
right,
where you can choose not to see yourself in fear and screaming like a child about all the unknown flaming question marks that are actually your reality. And they're right. And some of them are more socially acceptable or westernized, or some of them are easternized, and some of them are feel real or more nebulous or whatever. But when we're on the road and we're lying to ourselves about how we actually feel, and in my case, in this discussion, just thoroughly afraid.
Yeah.
Thoroughly afraid. If I don't acknowledge the unsafety that this fear is trying to mask, then it doesn't matter what story I'm drawing in. It's coming out of the same space. And the perception of control is there as an illusion in order not to actually go deep down and feel the immense amount of unsafety.
Yeah. Control is the method by which we play these games. And
or we don't get overwhelmed by the game.
Right.
The unsafety and the fear that ultimately you think the universe is causes you to feel larger than death circumstances of the nervous system overload. Because it is too big for you to handle, you go into the suppression of the nervous system, feeling that through the idea of control. And then you use the ideas of control through various channels of games in order not to feel the overwhelm of fear and unsafety.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that's the structure.
Yeah.
Is, over here, you're drowning, you're dying over here. Like it feels bigger than life and death, right? And that's where you go, oh, look, I'm just short-circuiting out. My nervous system is just at a complete point of chaos. Because ... in the past, what I would have done, I would have tried to exercise all kinds of points of control in order not to feel it.
Yeah.
But if you go, okay, what if I give up control? What if I actually admit that I'm an idiot and there's no such thing as control? Let me feel the system. Let me see what the system is.
Right.
And the system is just a child screaming.
Right.
And then you go, okay, at this point, what can I choose, right? And then your point is I can choose to see that there's no such thing as permanence, and I'm trying to fight the universe and its impermanence.
Right. And you see that there are these various games, and at one level you can say, well, these games are not fun. I don't want to play these games anymore. Maybe I want to play a different game, or maybe I don't want to play a game, depending on how you want to interpret that. You can rise above it and go, these games are pointless. That's just not what I'm going to do anymore. Or you can go, what sounds fun? I don't know what. Pick a game. I'm going to play that, but I'm going to deliberately play it. I'm going to play it knowing it's a game instead of getting sucked into it.
Yeah, maybe, one, if you deliberately choose to play a game.
At least it's honest.
Yeah, you have to be honest. Go, you know what? I'm going to go into this game. And you could choose universe as your partner.
I think fundamentally, the universe has your back. It has everyone's back.
The universe is your partner. But in this case, instead of us trying to control the universe and mistrust it, what if we choose it as our partner?
Right. Right. You could play the money game as the money game without the attachment to it. You're like, this sounds fun. Let's just play the money game. I'm going to see how much money I can make. If I make some, that's cool. If I don't make some, no big deal. You can do that. The type of person who realizes that is a thing to do may not even be interested in doing it. Almost a self-selection thing. But
in your case, right? Like you're not
pointless.
Attached to money, but you're attached to being loved.
True. So
like in that example, if I were to tell you, okay, you have universe beside you, it's your partner, it has your best interest in mind. Do you want to go play I'm unlovable game?
Right. No. Right. It's so easy to dismiss the ones that aren't your shtick.
So
it's easy for me to go gambling. I just don't get it.
Use your shtick as the example. Yeah. Right. Like if I feel unsafe and threatened, and I think universe is out there to get me. And I recognize that, and I go, okay, let me surrender into the universe. I feel rocked and lullabied by the universe when I do that. And then now I'm going to go and play a game together with the universe as my partner. I'm definitely not going to play a unsafety game.
Because those games are games against the universe instead of with the universe.
Well, like you cannot even, there's not even a structure to be held in place. Like think about this, go into the frequency when you are acknowledging your truth, right? You're in your truth and you're conscious and you're with the universe in its true blissful form, right?
Nothing's wrong.
Yeah. So what game are you playing? Like truthfully, like in that sense, you're in your truth, you're conscious, and you're one in the oneness with the universe.
I think you're just, at that point, you're just playing the experience game.
Yes. So there's not.
I mean, I kind of look at it as, are you playing against the universe? Or are you playing with the universe? I did one of those guided runs a while ago, and Coach Bennett was saying that if you're doing a race, you're not running against the other runners. You're running with the other runners. Think about it that way. These are not your enemies to defeat. If somebody passes you, say, yeah, you got it. Keep going. Congratulate them. And if you pass someone, say, you can do this. It's in the end, if it's a race, are you trying to get the best time you can? Yeah, I suppose that's the definition of a race. But it's not against them, it's with them. And so reframing like the whole, I've got to control everything. If control is, I need to control the universe, then you're fighting the universe.
Mm-hmm.
The universe is your opponent to bend to your will. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
To keep your stuff and your money and your relationships and your life, to keep them preserved for longer.
Not changing.
Don't want to change. Well, if it changes, it only has to change in a good way. Can't change in a bad way.
Sometimes we don't even want to change in a good way.
As opposed to the way you just worded it, whereas universe is on Team Elliot. Universe is on Team Tanya. And we're not playing against anyone. We're just playing together. And I think in general, things will turn out pretty awesome if you play that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but with me, I realized I had to let go of perception of control because deep down I didn't trust the universe.
No, right? The universe feels untrustworthy when you're in a state of fear or lack.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is like, well, exhibit A, I don't have money. Therefore, it is I'm in lack. There's proof. See the number on the bank statement. It's lack. I have hard evidence that lack is real, and I'm in it, and it is the universe's fault, or it's there's someone whose fault it is, whether it's the boss or the government or I don't know what, the economy. It's someone's fault, not my fault. And gotta do something, gotta control it.
Yeah.
It feels like the universe is out to get you from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it can feel like you are one with the universe and you're unstoppable from the other perspective.
It's not even unstoppable, but like at some point after we had that discussion with me, I was just no longer overwhelmed by like life.
Yeah, unstoppable is
maybe
the wrong word.
No, I think, well, I say unstoppable, like limitless in my possibilities.
Yeah.
I think that's sooner or later when you actually calm your nervous system and you stop fighting the universe. That's what happened to me, right? Like after that discussion,
right? Because the universe is limitless. If the limitless is on your team, then that team is limitless.
Yeah, yeah. But to begin with, the phase that I went to for a while was just like, okay, just let me be rocked and like embraced by the universe, like cradled and embraced. Like I needed some time. It's the cutest. I needed some time just to be still and feel that safety for the first time in what seemed like more than a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like just, I think I spent like 3 or 4 days just like staying in that vibratory field of complete surrender and being embraced by something that I had been trying to fight very unsuccessfully, obviously, for so long. And that's an okay place to be. Just like lulled and cradled by the universe, not taking any actions, just finally experience peace. And it took me I'm still there, right? Because like as things come up, I have to go back into that state. It's a choice to go back into that state, into like that trust and surrender, and just allow the nervous system to be soothed as you choose to step into that space, as opposed to drop down into density.
Right.
Hence the bifurcation.
Right. To deliberately try, deliberately feel it.
Feel that you feel vulnerable and then choose trust.
Yeah.
Which is really, like I don't think I've ever practiced that. So, yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Trust the universe. Trust the process.
Right. And we have, how many years ago did we get that? Pre-COVID, maybe?
No, because I had the drone.
Oh, okay.
That was post-COVID or mid-COVID.
Yeah, we just kind of like as a side story, we went to Portland and then we drove to Mount St. Helen, and we were just like hiking there. It was beautiful. It's just beautiful hiking there. Just that like the combination of fire and water element there is just so balanced. And and of course the woods. And so like the elemental structure of the entire Northwest is just so
right.
You don't have to do much work in order to stay in balance there. There's a dude in a t-shirt. It was like winter, right? Wasn't it winter?
It's fall break.
Yeah, but like it was cold there. Like we were wearing jackets and hats. Like in fact, I think we had to buy more jackets and more hats because we didn't realize how cold it was going to be. And that it wasn't a dude in a t-shirt.
I don't remember.
I want to say he was in a white t-shirt. He was. What was he using? Chalk?
Chalk, or was he laying it out in stones? I don't remember. Maybe it was chalk. Hopefully, it wasn't spray paint.
I don't think it was spray paint.
But he had written "Trust the process" on the. We saw it from. I had the drone up. And we saw it from the drone, and he had written "Trust the process" in on these rocks over on the side that you weren't supposed to get to. I guess maybe.
I think we ended up going to that side.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there was any limit on the side.
Oh, because there was a bridge that was closed to get there, but there's a different way to get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anytime I hear or say "trust the process," it reminds me of that. Because I'm like, this is here as a message to me. You probably took it the same way.
Yeah, no.
Because I'm like, look, there's a message. Trust the process. It's literally a message. Literally from above. You want to, God, give me a sign. Here's a sign spelled out in English.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Yeah. The dude was there. Yeah. And he was obviously there like on a spiritual journey, and that he decided to put that down, knowing that everybody who will see it will get something out of it. But we were just energetically in alignment. But, that was what, like, maybe 3 years ago?
Maybe 22.
Yeah. 4 years ago.
Fall of 21, 22.
And like, think about how many reiterations since that we have been looking back at that saying and then interpreting it in a deeper and deeper way.
No, it's very layered.
Yeah.
And it gets more and more profound every time.
Yeah. And so based on today's discussion, the evaluation of trust the process, I can still feel like it's going even deeper than we have even touched today. But where we were 3 or 4 years ago was like it was just an idea.
Yeah. It felt profound, but I couldn't appreciate it the way I can today.
Yeah, but you can't surrender and trust the process if you feel threatened. Do you know what I mean? Hence the spiritual bypassing. You can't be somewhere later if you're carrying, concrete shoes and chains and density around yourself. Like by default, that is not how physics work. If your mental energetic capacity is way down.
Ghost of Jacob Morley style?
Yeah, right. I guess we just saw Christmas Carol. But you quite literally, you can't ascend up if you're chained up. And the emotional density of holding on to things because otherwise I'm threatened is the opposite of letting go. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.